It's the moment these vets have waited for, the reason they are here.
Blows your mind. I had no idea how we would be received and thanked. Everybody comes up to you and shakes your hand, says thank you for your service. It gets you here.
The World War II Memorial honors the 16 million people who served in the armed forces during World War II and the 400,000 who paid the ultimate price. It honors men like Bob Middleton, whom we met on Honor Flight 5.
I'm going to make you a star, Bob. Yeah.
Middleton fought at the pivotal battle for the last bridge still standing across the Rhine as the Allies marched toward Berlin.
The big battle to us was the Remagen Bridge.
Remagen. It's where Middleton says he almost met his match with a German sniper as he tried to spot him across the river with a pair of high-powered binoculars.
He came out there with his machine gun, and I could hear them coming. You could hear that funny sound the German machine guns made. And I dropped down the hole just in time he hit the top of my scope.
Middleton says he was almost there to witness another part of history, the fall of Berlin at the end of the war in Europe. But
the last 2 or 3 days before the fighting was over, they stopped us from going into Berlin. They had agreed with the Russians that they wouldn't go in. So we sat outside about 40 miles away.
Some vets did get to experience what they described as the best day of the war, the day it was over. Bob Gwynn was a 19-year-old gunner on a Stuart tank in Germany.
The day that I remember so much really was a 48-hour period. It was the day that all those Germans were coming in to surrender.
In fact, Gwynn ended up guarding the captured soldiers.
They were moving into these stockades in order to be interrogated and to determine who should be released and who should be retained. They were trying to, I gather, find the people who had committed the atrocities and things like that.
Gwynn was relieved the war in Europe had ended, but at the time it was not the end of his service.
We were still looking forward to possibly having to go to the Pacific.
Carrier forces attached to the greatest fleet on earth roam the waters off Japan and the Philippines.
Today their names are familiar with many: Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, Peleliu, Okinawa, and many more. Small strips of land that dotted the vast Pacific Ocean, all stepping stones to the defeat of the Japanese imperial forces. And just like the war in Europe, there would be no victory without a heavy price.
And as we celebrate your trip here and place this wreath here at the column for those soldiers from Alabama that did not come home from World War II, we thank God for them and their service. We especially thank the Lord for you and yours and what you mean to our state and nation today. Thank you all.
At the moment, we are going ahead with our combined forces in the occupation of the Bonin Island of Iwo Jima.
Some of these veterans fought on the island of Iwo Jima, critical because of its lone airstrip. And one of those was Arthur Days, and he's here right now. You told me about the first night you spent on the island of Iwo Jima. Tell me about that.
The first night, when I got there, it was late in the evening, and I couldn't find my company. So a soldier told me, said, well, just dig a hole and get in it and stay in it overnight, and you'll be all right. I spent that whole night there, looking at traces going over my head.
Like many all-black companies during the war, Day's unit was put in a support role as stevedores, loading ships bound for the war in the Pacific. His company landed with supplies to unload during the battle for Iwo Jima. Days says the sights of the island are burned into his memory.
When I looked down on the beach, and the Marines were being killed so fast they didn't have time to bury them. And they were lined out they had them lined out on the beach, covered up on stretchers.
Days was one of 2.5 million African-American men who signed up for service during the war. But even with the racism and discrimination of the time, he said he learned something about people.
How sometimes we can get together, you know, and race differences disappear in the face of danger.
But having served his country, Days came home to a country that was far from colorblind. He dodged enemy bullets, but he still had to sit in the back of the bus on the way home from war.
We could fight, we could sacrifice together. But when I got back here, I couldn't even vote. That hurt.
Others brought home a different kind of hurt. As a Marine, Bobby Nix fought on 4 Pacific islands. He was wounded on 2 of them.
I was wounded on Saipan, and Iwo Jima both. I was hit twice in the leg here, and then once down here.
When Nix was wounded the first time on Saipan, he wasn't sent home. They just patched him up and got him ready for the next battle on Iwo Jima. He watched as the flag was raised on Mount Suribachi.
When the first flag was raised, it was too small. And we thought that the flag came down when the Japanese had re-attacked the guys up on top of Suribachi.
But that wasn't the case. Nix says when the bigger flag was raised, you could hear a cheer throughout the small island. At only 5 square miles, Iwo Jima made for close combat.
There was 22,000 Japanese and 20,000 of us. So, you know, we were pretty close together.
Still to come, Alabama state leaders pay tribute to these honor flight veterans. And a little later, meet some of the lady veterans who joined the effort to win the war.
And I said, this is about the waves. She said, I don't want you to go, but I'd go if I were you.